We are going to move on quickly to our very final session of the day. One, if you joined us off the top of the webcast this morning as we got kicked off around noontime Eastern, we got an open source briefing from Brad Christian. He talked about AI being in the news again today and went through a number of stories. So we're going to turn our focus again as we wrap up today on artificial intelligence. Yesterday, Microsoft announced a major new project called Copilot. I'm going to give Kelly a non-commercially opportunity to give us just a headline on what that is when he joins us here as the moderator, Kelly Bissell from Microsoft. Kelly, just real quick, because AI is in the news, both in good and bad ways today, and it probably always will be, what is Copilot?
Oh, look, Copilot is just a simple way that everybody, the cyber people in the SOC, can ask basic natural language on complex things to get the answers back. Think about Siri for the SOC. I probably shouldn't say that, but think about Siri for the SOC.
Yeah. Okay, got it. I'm still trying to figure out Siri. I don't know if I like her or not, but that's why I'm not going to be a part of this next conversation. I'm going to turn it over to you, Kelly. You know, I just think as we welcome the panelists, we also saw that Elon Musk and about 1,000 other tech leaders really called out in this letter that we saw in the news today for a pause in sort of how we're thinking about AI, how quickly it's developing until we can really better understand the implications of how this technology is being used. And I think, you know, we mentioned when we did a little pre-briefing yesterday for both good and bad. So I'm really excited to hear you engage with PJ Maykish. He's a senior advisor for the Special Competitive Studies Project. He's also the former director for technology competition at the National Security Council. Jeff Alstott, senior information scientist at RAND Corporation. Lieutenant General Michael Groen, former director of the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center. And I know that I wasn't supposed to introduce them all because they were going to introduce themselves, but I'm hoping that maybe they can take another minute or two to flesh out their backgrounds, because it goes way beyond their titles with every single one of these guests. So Kelly, over to you, and thank you. I think we are working on getting Mike's camera up. I know he's up on audio, and PJ, I think we're getting him sorted in here as well. So I'll let you guys go.
Look, Suzanne, thanks. Look, this is the easy part of the job. All I have to do is ask the questions. I don't have to answer them. So this is the fun part. And I wear a jacket this time, so that makes me more official. PJ, welcome. I'm excited for you to be here. And as we're getting ready for Lieutenant General Groen to join and Jeff Alstott, let's give the audience a little bit of background on where you're coming from in the world of AI, because that's what really we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, hi, Kelly. First of all, congrats on the release of Copilot, and look forward to joining here with General Groen and Jeff today. My AI journey started in 2015 when I was in the Office of Secretary of Defense for Policy during a time where Bob Work was leading a paradigm shifting effort called the Third Offset, where we were really thinking about how will AI transform war. I then got a chance to deploy to our Air Operations Center during the ISIS war to further think about how AI is used in war. I was really enamored with a Ukrainian invention called live universal awareness maps that use AI filters to filter out false information. From there, I joined the AI Commission as staff and was focused on looking at rival intents and capabilities. I finished that with a sprint at the NSC, thinking about technology competition from the China shop, and then joined the SCSP, where we're focused on how is the country positioned and organized for this era of competition.
Wow, PJ, I don't know why you don't have gray hair like me, because it sounds like you've done a ton of work around this area and probably learned a lot along the way that I can't wait to hear a little bit your thoughts and ideas. And I'm not sure if we've got Mike. Oh, is General Groen, are you on?
Yeah. Hey, Kelly. Sorry, I'm right now. I guess I'm just voice only, but we'll try to work with things. But I'm here and ready to go.
Fantastic. Well, look, give the audience a little bit of background on where you're coming from, and especially your long career before around AI.
You're saying I'm an old guy, is that it? No, hey, thanks, and really appreciate to Kelly or to the whole team. I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of participate in this conversation. So my name is Mike Groen. I'm a retired 3-star Marine, a former NSAer, former director of the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center inside the department. Today, I guess I would characterize myself as a national security enthusiast. And I'm eager to do whatever I can to help the United States achieve competitive advantage. And I think those words are so important in every context that we're going to talk about today. Competitive advantage in a critical transformational window. There are times when you can just feel it, right? You can just feel the atmosphere changing. It's electric. We are in one of those times today. And what that means to me is we're not talking about tomorrow's problem here. We're talking about today's crisis. And we really have to get organized, get implemented, and get working in this space. So thanks. Really look forward to the conversation.
Look, I mean, I love that. Get working, get organized, get working, so we can actually move forward, right? So let me first ask the first question. I mean, PJ, are we in an AI arms race, as I've seen it be called? What do you think?
It's a great question, Kelly. I think for the listeners, I would just step back 7 years and then answer after laying out a few premises. 7 years ago, when DeepMind created an AI application that could defeat a human, Lee Sedol, in South Korea, in the game of Go, 1 year later, that same application defeated China's 9th Dan player, Keija. And 280 million Chinese nationals watched that match, watched AI defeat one of their heroes. At the same time, this is only 50 million people less than there are in the United States. I mean, there's a massive awareness among the population about an era was changing. Kai-Fu Lee wrote a book in that era called AI Superpowers and described the private sector in China and in the United States as extremely competitive, used the word gladiatorial to think about the way things were working out in China. And at the same time, Xi Jinping had created something that's translated into English that we call the AI plan. It's a 14-year plan to out loud and expressly dominate the AI sector by 2030. Only 4 years later, fast forward, 2021, the United States establishes a commission, which happens after events like Who Killed Kennedy, Warren Commission, what happened on 9/11, 9/11 Commission, and of course, one of your board members, Mark Montgomery, leading the Cyber Commission. So an AI commission was set up in essence to get the nation organized for what was happening in the geostrategic context, because really the propositions laid out by Kai-Fu Lee were true. So it may not be so much as a dawn as a morning. This has been happening for a while. We're kind of into the day of a competition, and whether you call it an arms race or purely competition for tech power, certainly something is well underway.
Look, I can't agree more. And I think Putin even said, whoever becomes the leader in AI will become the ruler of the world. Maybe that's a little bit reaching, but Jeff, what's your point on this? Because you've been studying this topic for a long time as well.
Yes, hi, Kelly and PJ and Mike, and apologies, it was pointed at the wrong webcam. So now we're on the right webcam. We've worked on AI issues for some number of years. I was working in the intelligence community, running R&D programs relating both to using AI for national security and the security of AI itself. Then I spent some time at the National Security Council, and then OSTP, and still have out in government at NSF, and I'm at RAND. So I don't think that the framing of AI arms race is particularly accurate, because AI is not a single arm, and we do not have sort of a paradigm where all we have to do is stack up AIs like we do missiles, and that's the sort of relevant framing. This is much more like in, say, World War II, where radar is the thing that defends the UK from German bombs, or aircraft carriers are the new sort of concept that allows the US to do very well in the Pacific. That we have new frameworks and paradigms and ConOps that are being discovered and implemented, hopefully, that produce qualitative changes in how competition even occurs. And while there is indeed competition, and AI is central in it, the dynamic here is about sort of cleverness and exploration and iterating quickly on that and intelligently, and not locking yourself into certain paradigms and making use of the latest and greatest things that, say, Microsoft is putting out.
Yeah, and maybe even with practical solutions as opposed to theoretical ones, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Mike, if I could go back to you, I think Colonel Frost said early at the very beginning of the SIG session, she said, I think Suzanne asked her, should we take a pause on AI? And she said, well, look, that train has left the station. What do you think? should we take a pause?
I don't think we can. I mean, it's easy for us to, if this was an academic conversation and you said, gee, could we do that? Sure. But the host of industries that absolutely depend on artificial intelligence as it's utilized today and has been for years, I think we forget about that when we talk about this, sort of in the extracted conversation that, hey, look, this is not new, and it's like thoroughly distributed throughout our entire economic activity. So I would say this though. I mean, the words arms race is a little provocative, of course, and intentionally so. But I don't think, if you can get past those two words, there is certainly a competition underway, right? And I would suggest we're still not acting like that competition is live, right? And it's certainly not just military arms. It's national system versus national system. And this is the competition. With an expanding definition of what national security means, think about military, think about infrastructure, think about cyberspace and cybersecurity, economics, our economic power as a nation, our governance, how we do governance, how information, like all of these things are transformed by AI and related technologies, right? And transformed, I will remind you, means the form changes, right? Transformed. So we have to think about how we do things in different ways enabled by this technology. And this is what's happening, everywhere in the commercial sector, as you know better than anybody. So, in many ways, we're still thinking through the lens of tech adoption, right? Where we're just taking pieces of technology and just plugging them into our current system. And that's not bad, but it's not sufficient to need for real transformation. So I think we just have to, if we look through the lens of China and military competition, that's a lens, but it's insufficient, right? Think about what chatbots are going to do in the information space running up to the 2024 election, for example. Horrifying, right? We can't go backwards here, but we can go forwards aggressively in cybersecurity, in information resilience, all the things that a free society can do with, again, we live with AI every single day today. There's AI driving this, this connection today, right? So this broad hand wave of, oh my God, we got to stop all this AI stuff. Sorry, folks. We should probably stop the sun from shining too. It ain't gonna happen, right? Let's think through how do we actually make this work and make this work effectively?
Right. So I couldn't agree more. How do we make it work and make it work effectively? And maybe this is a question back to you, Jeff, again, around how do you, when you think about AI and quote best practices or really safety and security, how do you think about this?
So there's at least two angles. One is the AI doing what the humans want, and then two is the AI enabling the humans to do things that we don't want the humans to do. So there's this whole world about the security of an AI system and whether or not an adversary can subvert it in order to make decisions that are not what the human operators or commander would want. And so just as we have sort of hardware vulnerabilities and software vulnerabilities, we now also have algorithmic vulnerabilities where an adversary, doesn't even have to be a particularly sophisticated adversary, can get your AI to do things without ever touching the code or ever touching the hardware, because that AI is learning from data, either back at base or in the field, and that is data that your adversary can manipulate, right? And so the AI can learn the wrong things or do the wrong things. You can even, if you get the AI, you can bang on it and get it to reveal the wrong things, to reveal, say, classified information or proprietary information. But there's this whole other category of thing, which is what I think is more the attention of those who are writing this letter that was referred to earlier, which is these AIs are fantastically capable technologies, and that means that you can enable all sorts of things. So I don't think it is the case today, but we don't actually know whether or not these large language models can accelerate the development of cyber weapons or bioweapons or nuclear weapons, right? The number of actors that are able to build bad biobugs is now larger than it was, and sort of the breakout speeds for other actors is faster than it was. And I think that that's the angle being attended to with pauses, is wait, what are the actual full implications of these things? I unfortunately am not aware of any good best practices for that latter category. I can point you to things about the security of AI, but understanding the full implications of a broadly capable technology is a thing that we don't yet have solutions for. You can see that, say, when GPT-4 came out a few weeks ago, they released this nice document showing all the ways that they tried to get it to do bad things. And indeed, it could be used to do some bad things. And so that, I think, was very laudable by OpenAI that they spent time on that before they released it.
Well, I mean, I think you're referring to a little bit, how do we prevent AI poisoning, model poisoning and all things like that, right? Because
model poisoning is indeed one category of the issues of the security of the AI system itself.
Very good. All right, well, let's we know that we're moving forward with it. The train has left the station. I agree with General Groen that we are moving forward. It's part of our daily lives today. We're not going to stop the sun shining, but let's go through. Let's pivot a little bit to competition. And so, PJ, this is for you. Where do you think we are in international competition as a whole? Where do you think this? I don't want to call it arms race now, but where do you think this competition is?
Yeah, specifically on the AI competition, it's happening in a broader context of US-China competition writ large. The two largest economies in the world are pushing towards technological advantage. If you look at key CCP writers in China, like Wan Huning, writing a book called America Against America, he is saying out loud plainly that America values technology, and to defeat them, you must defeat them in technology. And so this is like a geostrategic, grand strategic context, which we come back to say, where are we in AI? During the AI Commission days, across the stack, and just to make sure that everybody feels that AI is not just an algorithm, but it uses data on a computer with an algorithm to produce an application that's integrated. Those are 5 categories that Andrew Moore during the AI Commission days called the AI stack. Each one of those has a different story. But if you were to aggregate during the AI Commission days, you could say the United States has a slight lead across different aspects of that stack. There are also places that we felt China had a lead in the aspect stack. Certainly the aggregation of data, the pursuit of data, and the treat of data like a sacred resource. That was its own advantage. At the Special Competitive Studies Project, we've looked into it and now called it a sector that's more up for grabs. And so there's certain sectors where you can say, like exportable 5G, battery storage, and things like drone technology. China is now demonstrating the ability to put drones through forests. It's a high technological achievement. That AI is more of a middle category. It's totally up for grabs. And as the two largest economies in the world clash, the decade will sort of determine how that plays out and who has the greater sphere of influence in that tech.
I see. And Mike, maybe I could come back to you on this. What's your point on where we are in this global competition? And of course, you're going to come up from one angle, but I'd love to get your view on this.
Yeah, of course. I mean, let me start with the good news, right? I don't think the high quality and innovation at our universities in this country and our tech companies is off the charts and is beyond competition in that space, for example. So we have a lot actually to be to help bolster our confidence. Like, look, we are innovative as a nation, and we continue to be so, and that's really cool. The competition kind of comes through the lens of, I look at it through the lens of innovation versus organization, because the Chinese and the PLA and certainly the CCP, they use AI for all kinds of things. Nobody's better surveilling their citizens than the Chinese Communist Party. However, how dynamic is that capability if suddenly they had to monitor, U.S. ships in the South China Sea? I don't know. But the point is, like for them to be exquisitely organized top to bottom, they lose flexibility, and I would argue that they don't have the same kind of innovation environment. Now, what's important for us though is I think we have a massive implementation gap, right? So we have the technology, but we don't implement it, especially in defense. And again, I'm not talking about killer robots here. I'm talking more like office automation, right? You know, AI that helps to let functions and processes and large data sets, you know, be visible across the force, for example. Like, this is kind of the stuff that we have to get implemented. And I characterize this as a vitamin I deficiency, imagination, right? If you can't image your processes, your platforms, your procedures through the lens of what I could do with data. I could make a better decision if I knew X. Okay, go find X and make it part of your decision process. This is what's on offer, and it's well within the technical state of the art. We can talk about killer robots, but honestly, let's not lose sight of the implementation that we have to do today if we're going to really transform our ecosystem and be innovative and just organized enough to win. And I think that's really important. The last piece, I have to throw this in here, information resilience, right? I mentioned the 2024 election. Like, we've got to be in our schools, we got to be as a government, we have to be as a society helping each other understand this information environment and growing resilience. You know, nobody knows better than our children about fake news and all the other stuff. We just have to help make sure that our democracy understands that. And sorry for going over, but thanks, Kelly.
No, this is really good. And I wanted to get us to the practical, like, what's the call to action for our audience? What are the one or two things you think everyone should take away from this session here around AI? Because not everyone has really spent years into this space like this panel here. So I'll start with PJ, and then I'll go to Jeff, and I'll leave the last word in case, Mike, you have one more thing to add. This is what, you know, the lightning round. What's the call to action? What's the one or two actions you think everyone should take when it comes to AI and their own business, whether in government or in the private sector?
Kelly, I would say that two things. First of all, that the stakes of the competition, it's not just about who's first or second. It's about national power. It's about national influence. And it's about whether these technologies are used ultimately to promote civilization or to harm it. And both are possible. And so the nation that takes a leading role and has leading positions is better able to sort through these three futures that we think about at the project. It's like the future of geopolitics itself, as the two largest economies in the world compete, the future of democracy and autocracy itself, because autocracy is not declining and democracy is never a guarantee, and then also the rise of how these technologies will be used for either good or harm. So the stakes are enormous. It's not only $1 trillion game, it's a game about these three futures and how they're playing out through our hands in this generation. So that's the first one. The second thing I'd say is, whether we call it a competition or a race, how a nation competes determines sort of its outcome. And as we compete, we must never lose our fundamental values and never allow the competition to cloud sort of the way we have unity in the United States and the way we think about, you know, people and our founding values. And so we think it's important to compete our way and not necessarily to become any other nation as we compete, but to always know that US ambition and US unity are going to be the fuels of our competition. And so if we continue to spike both of those, I look forward to the future.
All right, good. Thank you, PJ. Thank you. Jeff, what's the one or two takeaways or actions, call to actions for everybody?
I really liked Mike's previous statements about transformation, is that you have to transform how you are doing business or how you're doing your operations within government. And that will mean things are different, and will mean the benefits are different and the risks are different. And so you can't use the same sort of cached logic in your head about what is it that we ought to be achieving and what are the things that we ought to be concerned about. So stay flexible and keep your eyes peeled.
And keep learning, right? There you go. All right, General Groen, I'll give you the last word. Anything else to add for the takeaways?
Yeah, I would say, killer robots always get the headlines, right? And unfortunately, this is a deterrent to thinking positively about our competitive advantage inside the Department of Defense and inside government and inside other places too, right? It becomes an excuse not to take action. Oh my God, somebody said this is scary. Let me just back off. We'll readdress this next week. Can't be that way, right? And getting back to imagination, you have to, imagination, the word image is in there, right? It's like you have to see it. And so but you can't automate. You have to see your processes. You have to see your systems and how they could work. If you can't automate your processes if you don't have a process, right? So the discipline of thinking through your warfighting function in case of defense, and whatever that is, thinking through those functions, mapping those functions, and starting to identify where data goes. And this has to be done by functional communities with tech assistance. So in collaboration, so that we actually start to get processes automated and processes integrated into systems. That's the holy grail. That's implementation. Today, we're too distracted by the shiny object of tech and not attracted to our warfighting functions and how we actually win on the battlefield. And so I think that mindset, especially for our warriors, is really important. Fantastic innovation in every service. I mean, the young people that are coming in are brilliant. We just have to, let's give them the fuel, right? Let's give them the apparatus that they can operate on, and we'll see American innovation, in spades. And so thank you very much for the opportunity today.
Love that. I mean, my takeaway is, look, how do we continue to invest? How do we really focus on the art of the possible, but practical solutions so we can move forward in each sector? So PJ, Jeff, Mike, thanks for joining on this. And Suzanne, I'll send it back to you for a wrap up.
Oh my gosh, so many great comments there. I love General Groen's ability to just make all of this difficult stuff sound so simple. PJ as well, I think I have complete whiteboard envy after that. And just, it wasn't only what was behind him, but how he was framing up a lot of the issues and the challenges, but also opportunities that are ahead with AI. And Jeff joining us, I think he might have been out in California. I don't know, maybe I was just dreaming about California, but fantastic panel. Kelly, thank you. I know you've already logged off your camera, but thanks very much. Very, very well done. Matt, wow, wow. Well, Kelly, come back. I have one more question for you.
All right, I'm back.
The Ghostbusters thing on your wall, story. We need the story behind that.
Super simple. Look, in the cyber world, when bad guys are on the network, we call that ghost on the wire. So we're Ghostbusters.
Ah, I like that. Very, very witty marketing team. I love it.
It was actually developed by us nerds. So,
Nerds. Hey, nerds unite. I mean, I feel like that's where the future is. That's what we've been talking about all day today. A lot of the stuff that most people would put in the nerd department is really driving our future. So thank you for that. I like the banner.
Thank you. Great show, by the way. I love these. I'm so glad you pulled these together by these experts, and look forward to the future ones with even more people. So thanks.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And, I just want to note, I mean, Kelly, Microsoft is one of the sponsors of this event. I don't want to wrap things up today with talking about just how important it is that companies like Microsoft, Accenture, Recorded Future, Booz Allen Hamilton, Elastic, Blue Voyant, we deeply appreciate your support. These conversations are free and open to everyone, with the idea to educate and then to bring together the public and private sectors to share best practices, which is what we heard a lot of today. So we really want to thank our corporate sponsors as well.
The Cypher Brief, because national security is everyone's business.